Hey folks, it's Jim from the Movie Rewind, here to review Bennett Miller's Capote. In a small town within Kansas on the night of November 14th, 1959, the Clutter family is murdered by criminals Perry Smith and Dick Hickok in search of supposedly $10,000. This catches the eye of novelist and playwright Truman Capote, played by one of our best character actors and certainly one of my favorites, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Traveling to Kansas with childhood friend Harper Lee, the author of To Kill a Mockingbird, played by Catherine Keener, Capote realizes this story goes well beyond some article in the New Yorker and decides to write a book about the subject. Intrigued by the concept that a nonfiction book can be as fascinating as any fictional story, the talented narcissist who pays people to give him compliments interviews the people of the town with Lee as his intermediate between him and the people who aren't used to people like Capote. He also gains the trust of Alvin Dewey, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation agent, played by Chris Cooper, who provides Capote with necessary information, while Capote bribes the warden in order to visit Smith, who he regularly interviews over the years, learning more while finding a proper lawyer for him to keep Smith alive. In Smith, played by Clifton Collins, Capote finds a kindred spirit who reminds him of himself with similar backgrounds in history. However, as Capote finds his book In Cold Blood to be shaping up as a masterpiece, he finds that the no longer needed Smith and Hickok are a burden, as he can't finish his story until they're sentenced to death. Miller, who most recently directed one of my favorite films of last year, Moneyball, creates a similar biopic by only focusing on a few selective years of one man. Miller knows how to handle engaging biopics that serve more as character studies that are moving, but they're not necessarily sentimental. Some of the best biopics are not defined to one person, but instead give us a broad look at something. In this case, it's the moral struggles of journalism and artistry, and the people who are used for it. As Harper Lee, Catherine Keener is a sympathetic friend, but is willing to tell it like it is. She sees through Capote even when Capote can't get past his own disillusionment and ego. This could have been a one-note character, and thankfully it isn't. Cooper doesn't have much to do as the modest man Dewey, but one can tell he's a little agitated by Capote's assistance to these criminals. Bruce Greenwood is exceptionally good as Jack Dunphy, a novelist and romantic lover of Capote. Clifton Collins Jr. is fascinating as Smith. It's a difficult role to play, and Collins walks a fine line. He's never one-dimensional, but at the same time, he isn't entirely a victim. After all, he did kill an entire family. He's using Capote just as Capote is using him. Speaking of Capote, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who deservedly won the Academy Award for Best Actor, is brilliant here. It goes far beyond an impersonation. It helps that it isn't particularly a mannered performance that brings too much attention to itself, aside from the voice inflection. Most biopics have a tendency to look at their protagonist as some sort of saint. For me, that's not particularly interesting. However, this film depicts Capote as a flawed individual who can manipulate and be honest all at the same time. He's sincere with Smith, giving him comfort, but that is only to get Smith to tell Capote what he wants to hear. He's odd yet charming in a room, even when he's flaunting about himself. Often at times he contradicts certain things he said before. This creates a complex battle between the opportunist and the man with a conscience. That's it from the Movie Rewind. Have a good day, folks. Until next time.